So you want to invest in Web3, but you don't know what tokens to buy? You can use SwissBorg's thematics instead. They select a collection of the best performing Web3 tokens and rebalance them upon performance. So you don't need to worry about going all in on an absolute steaming turd. Sounds good to me. SwissBorg. Hello, good morning everybody. We're going to look at ICP today. That's right, so we were glancing through a variety of altcoins on the live stream last night. For Patreon members, obviously, if you want to join the Patreon, links in the description below. Otherwise, let's get straight into it. We'll start with the dominoes, being the S&P, then the Euro, gold, and then total 2. So the total market cap excluding Bitcoin. So we'll start with the S&P. This is S&P Futures. Yeah, what we're seeing on the daily is yesterday we had this. It is a spinning top. It's a fat candle. You can class it as a decent rejection from the top of the Bollinger Band a few days ago, right down to this stage here with a buyback that brings us up to a rejection around these moving averages on the daily. 10 exponential. 28 simple Bollinger Band bottom. So we're looking for this range to be maybe a little bit, played around with, really. Back down to the 50 again. So once again, another retest of the 50, the Bollinger Band bottom, 4,070. Or we're looking for a breakout above 4,130, sorry. As far as the chart is concerned, it actually still looks quite good. This is still an uptrend in the making, continuing with the bearish divergence on the one tag over here with a decent pullback. I would probably say that that's likely played at the moment. I know that there's going to be fundamentals at play with old men talking around tables at FOMC meetings and all this sort of stuff, CPIs and blah, blah, blah. None of that is actually relevant to me, to be honest with you. I was saying this on the stream last night. Let's have a think about the general vibe of the S&P. And if we can just refresh this because it's being stupid. I wanted to just let you all know, not that you've, not like it's a secret. I said, when it happened, this is likely to be the low for stocks, right? And that doesn't mean that we bounce all the way up to new all-time highs straight away. It just means that this is likely to be the low. The buyback on this one has proven to be pretty strong now. And since we've broken out the descending triangle, with moving averages also outside of the descending triangle, and golden crosses as well, and pump signals still in play, I still think that this is the low. That doesn't mean that something can't happen, or generally we start to trend down and actually have a downtrend at some point, and maybe later on down the line this year, double bottom. I'll be surprised to see if that happens, but it could. It's not an enormous move, let's face it. That's not massive. That's a 13% drop, and that's really not that big a deal, to be honest, if we did do that. And I said at the time that a double bottom some point down the line this year is not unlikely, but I'm not suggesting by any means that we go down any lower than that. I think this is the consolidation over. Now we're into accumulation phase. And maybe in a couple of years, we'll see a new all-time high on the S&P. So that's reasonable. So the reason I bring these to your attention is that this is a trading environment, right? Are we still bear market downtrending on this one? No, we're not. Are we massively bullish uptrending on this one? No. What are we doing? We're wiggling around in what looks like an accumulation. And this area right now could actually be a local top where we basically come back down to these lows. But as far as the trend is concerned, and the trend is the most important thing, the trend is still actually okay. So we've got low, high, lower, high, higher, low, and working on potentially creating and printing a higher high, and it would be a breakout of this 4,170. Now I know this is a video on S&P, I just on ICP. I just wanted to show you this to start with, because part of trading altcoins is to look at everything that goes on behind the altcoin. So there's a correlation across the board in all of these markets right now, and the S&P is part of that. Gold is another good part of that. Gold is basically a carbon copy of the Bitcoin chart in a way, much stronger and probably more reliable, but it's doing the same thing. We had a golden cross, we moved down into it, we bounced up, made a new local high. Recently on the 4 hourly specifically, we had a falling wedge, we broke out of that, we're bullish. We've got a pump signal on the gold, so gold looks like it wants to continue to go up. S&P, like I say, is going to battle with this area, but personally I think it's more likely to break out of here and move up to around 4,350. And the euro, same old, same old. We look at this all the time, a standard golden cross retest and up and away. So all of these are part of what I call the domino effect. You know that. And we talk about this because we look at the overall trading environment of everything before we even start to look at Bitcoin, and especially altcoins. Before we start to look at Bitcoin, this is the total market cap excluding Bitcoin. And what we had was a golden cross, a retest of it, a bounce up, retest, 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 many retests, and we retested it a few days ago. This is why I made that video about the spending spree. So I'll put some more money into altcoins, one of them being Jasmy and a few others that, I'm not a pump or a signals group, but yeah, Jasmy had a decent setup, which is why I showed it on the channel. And in fact, if we look at Jasmy's price at the moment, it seems to be one of the better charts. It's up 7% today. It's still trending up. So we're looking at basically everything working exactly as expected when we're looking at these charts. But the main thing to think about is that most altcoins look pretty rubbish, in all fairness. We were looking at them last night, and most of them doing exactly the same thing, which is actually kind of bearish on the short term, looking for further downside before any kind of bounce. Some of them printing bullish divergence on a 4-hourly, which means that they could at any point turn around. And the best way, in my opinion, to think about any kind of turnaround point would just be to think about this chart, the total 2. We've already established that S&P, Euro and gold do want to continue to go up, so that form of trading environment is still definitely good. We're looking at this as a major support to be tested for what could then be a 17% rally up to the first major level of resistance. So let's just say we bounce from where, let's just where we are right now. So it's about 14 to 15%, and then up to its major top target is about 48%. So, and again, if you were to buy the altcoins at the 200 exponential, it'll be 17 and 50%. We've got 2 drives of bullish divergence. We might even get a 3rd drive on a daily as well, which would be pretty sweet. So things do look quite good across the board for altcoins. Let's have a think about Bitcoin, and then we'll do ICP last. So Bitcoin on the 4-hourly has reclaimed the 200 exponential, retested it also as well, so avoided the death cross twice now since being below it, which is good. To stay above this current level where we're at right now would be pretty important. So we're talking more or less exactly right now, 28,600. So it's your Bollinger Band Center, it's your 21 exponential, all on the 4-hourly. And we want to stay above there for the rest of the day into the next few days, to allow that to turn around and be bullish. On the daily, it's all about the 29,000. Getting above there would probably at that point be all clear to move up to around 31 to 32, and probably a bit further than that, to be honest with you. Volume is still the worst enemy of Bitcoin at the moment. As you can see, the volume has dwindled massively, and as a result of that, it's basically stopped price action from making any any moves with conviction, let's just say. So, I mean, this is a good example. Big move up, big move down, low volume, not prepared to stay the distance. But 29,000 closures on a daily has every chance to move up to the 32 and beyond. Right, so let's start looking at the meat of the matter, which is ICP. I don't know how long this video has gone on for, but I imagine you're all bored to death looking at all this. So on the daily, we're already at that at the Bollinger Band Center and the 10 exponential, and then the 200 exponential is ever so slightly above that. So I'd be pretty confident in saying that closures on a daily above $6 has the chance to move up towards the top of this descending triangle that we're in. It's a bearish formation, obviously, bearish until broken, but its relationship to moving averages are stronger than Bitcoin's at the moment. So this is actually a pretty decent chart, better than Bitcoin's on the shorter term timeframes. We go to a 4-hourly, we can also see that we've come down to a golden cross retest on the 200 exponential. On the 4-hourly, and this is where we were last night, saying that this is actually an entry point, down here. So, getting an entry point here on a 4-hourly time frame for the view to scale out around 5.5 to maybe as much as 12 to 13% on a 4-hourly time frame, just based on that. Now, outside of that, there's not really any other signals that we can see on the 4-hourly, but 2-hourly is above all major moving averages. Obviously, the 1-hourly is going to be battling with this area here, which is where we're finding our current peak, 200 exponential. You can see the relevance of moving averages is significant. But the main thing to focus on is going to be the daily for big moves. So building a base above the $6 zone has every chance to not just take it to the top here, but actually break out. When you have descending triangles like this, the sooner you break out from a formation from this, the more likely it is that you break out with conviction. And if we were to do that, the next move would be all the way up here to around 740. Now that's not like the biggest thing anyone's ever seen. It's not, but it's still pretty decent. If we just think about the measured move, would be a move of about 26% or so. Now, if we get that, we would also be thinking about, this is more constructive because we previously were rallied all the way from the bottom to the top here where we found ourselves a resistance around 740, but we hadn't reclaimed moving averages to the same extent. This time round we would. It would be a bit more constructive with a bit more of a breakout. You could do a measured move if this is the sort of thing you want to do. You can measure the mouth of the of the breakout. Let's just say we broke out around here, and it would take us up to around $8. Let's have a look at the money flow index. Fully reset over here. This is just normal consolidation formation, and if we were to run up, and we're trading at 10 million now, if we were to run up, it would take a little while for us to get as overheated as we were before. We're sitting at 94 there, which is always a get out of a position really. When money flow index reaches towards 95, you should expect a pullback, and that's definitely what we got here. But now we'll be looking for this to pump right up again, and I would expect to see, I'm putting my bullish head on here. I would expect to see a decent move up beyond into towards $8 on this one. Now, it doesn't definitely have to happen, but I do like the way it looks. Now let's have a look at the Bitcoin pair, where it's even better than the Tether pair. We're currently above the 20 moving average, and we're battling with this area here, the 10 exponential. The next move up would take us to the 200 simple moving average, where we've been rejected 1 and 2 times in a row, and just ever so slightly above that, around 2400 sats is your 200 exponential. Now, if we extend this box of significance, I would call it, and do a measured move from where we're at right now, the bottom area is 28. And the top area is actually 38. So some pretty sizable moves. Not impossible here on the Bitcoin pair. So both Tether and Bitcoin pair look quite good. The 4 hourly coming down to, again, another 200 exponential, a golden cross retest as well. And the battle is going to be just more or less where we've been rejected from right now. So there's a fair bit of short-term rejection points at this very moment in time. But as far as all the other altcoins that we were looking at last night and general charts overall, this one actually has the best chance of moving, which is crazy because it's ICP and we're not used to this doing much other than disappointing us. But it's true, when it does move, it can move significantly. This is just like the Bitcoin pair. We did a 41% move there. We consolidated into a 200 simple moving average, another 26% move. And what we see here is not exactly higher highs, but definitely higher lows. And I actually do feel pretty strongly that this is one of the coins that's likely to move by about 20% or so. So I'm quite keen on the idea of it moving. I mean, it doesn't have to, obviously. It's not as strong or as epic as the Jasmy setup that we saw, because Jasmy had pump signals in play. ICP doesn't have any kind of pump signal in play. When using the ICP cloud, it's just its position on the chart in comparison to moving averages, which is better than other altcoins. But then, like I say, we're trying to hunt out for altcoins which can move more than Bitcoin or more than other altcoins. And the reason we look at this domino effect at the beginning of all of these videos is to recognize that, although altcoins are getting beaten up right now and they don't look particularly good, some of them might look a little bit better than others. Some have got the possibility of moving up before others, or moving up to a larger extent than others based on their own charts, like ICP. Overall, the market should receive a bounce relatively soon. But if we do lose this area, this 200 exponential on the daily, then obviously it's all over with, really. The potential bounce to 17 and 50% for altcoins would probably be more or less over. We could really think about maybe trying it again back down at the 200 simple moving average here, but generally I'll be more looking at this one to play the bounce. Although Bitcoin did bounce on its 200 simple moving average rather than the exponential, but remember the Euro, the S&P, gold, they all bounce at a 200 exponential, and normally that's the way I would like to see. I'd like to see the bounce on the exponential. So overall, it looks quite good, I have to say. There is a good chance of this working and a good chance of this moving. I just wanted to bring it to your attention. Some of these altcoins are providing signals and setups and strengths that others aren't. Jasmy being the one that we played earlier on, and that's working out quite nicely, and actually looks like it wants to continue, in all fairness, and that had a decent setup. That's why I made that video about it. But now I think ICP is the next best thing to Jasmy, although it's not as clear as Jasmy's setup was. Jasmy's setup was pretty clear. That's why we see it up, over these last few days since making that video. An ICP, like I say, although it's not great, it's better than most. Right, thank you for watching. I hope you have a nice day. Feel free to subscribe and like, and click on all the links in the description below. Thanks for watching. Take it easy.